Hello everyone and welcome back to another Strigoi video. It's a bit of a quick one today because I didn't prepare any PowerPoint. I just really wanted to show off the content that Warhammer community just dropped on our new elementary units for the Lumineth Realm-Lords. Of course, I'm super hyped for this specifically because LRL are kind of my baby. So let's dive right in and just see what they've got in store for us. So right off the bat, what I really like about this article is that in this section, they kind of cleared up how they viewed the Lumineth Realm-Lords functioning. So kind of as I talked about actually in our Discord server, they are kind of approaching the Lumineth as they have done with the Eldar from 40k, where you have this core of militia units in the form of Vanari units in our case. And then on top of that, you take specialized units for specific purposes. What I really like about the current rules that they've shown off is that they're really hammering down on the fluff and flavor aspect of all the elementari. So you've got the Sinari who are going to be our premium spellcasters, obviously. But then on top of that, you finally have the Huracan units who are, with the rules that we've seen so far, probably going to do what they're supposed to do, as well as the Elrith who should be the indomitable counter-punching with the Earthen Might aspect as you would expect. So let's dive right in here with a artifact called the Phoenix Stone. Obviously this is a well-known artifact from the last book. As is stated in the sentences above the image, is that it can only be carried by Sinari heroes, so your bring is on your Enlightener, for example, or your Calligraph or your Cathaller. And it is similar to the artifact that we had before, so once per battle, before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to another friendly Lumineth Realm-Lords hero within 12 inches of the bearer, and that wound or mortal wound would cause that hero to be slain, you can roll a dice. On a 3+, that wound or mortal wound is negated. You can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to that hero, and any wounds that remain to be allocated to it are negated. So if you don't read this in detail, as I didn't do the first time that I read this, you might think that this is a huge downgrade. But you know, if you think about it, you bring this on a Sinari hero and you can't use it for that hero itself, but it does work for all your other heroes. So that means that you can trigger this effect on a named hero, which you could never do with the previous iteration of this artifact. So for example, if you're running your Enlightener or your Cathaller and she's standing next to Teclis or within 12 inches of Teclis, and he gets killed on a 3+, you're avoiding his skill and he regains D3 wounds. That would also work on Twins or Eltharion. So especially with the Enlightener here, I can actually see this being pretty good. I don't think I would take this as my first artifact unless I'm really banking on keeping Teclis alive. But that would be a cool second artifact to use. For example, if you're running Eltharion and the Enlightener, she wants to be up close anyway, and Eltharion wants to do that as well. So running them as a kind of power pair to trigger this ability once per game might be cool. You know, there's still the caveat though that is a once per battle ability that only triggers on a 3+, so even if you don't get that 3+, the artifact is wasted, and that's something that I really don't like. I can understand that it would be too strong if it was guaranteed on a character like Teclis, for example, but on other heroes, I don't think it would be too OP or anything to just make it on an automatic roll, or even just on a 2+, obviously. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't think I would take it as a first artifact, but maybe as a second one. That's pretty cool. Let's move on to something that I'm very excited about. So our Stoneguard get a huge buff here. This unit has a ward of a 4+ against mortal wounds, while it is contesting an objective that you control. So that's pretty big as well. So right off the bats, they don't get a straight up 4+ ward, which would be too strong, considering how tanky they can be with their normal save. But a 4+ against mortal wounds is still pretty good. If they're on a 4+, or God forbid if they get a 3+ in the new tome, with the Geometrica ignoring -1 and -2 rend, they are looking to be quite tanky. Because before the Guiding got swiped off the map, with an easy spell or some mortal wound damage, but now with that 4+ wards, it does make them a little bit more defendable. Do note though that you have to have them on a objective that you control, which is not as easy because usually Stoneguard are small units. Though it does hammer down on this flavor that that Games Workshop obviously want the Stoneguard to have, where they're basically your objective holders while your Vanari units are moving up the board with your Huracan units, which I really love. So honestly, you could just take like 2 × 5 Stoneguard, plonk them on your objectives, and they'll hold that objective comfortably for a while at least. Especially if you use them as screens on your objective, that's looking pretty good right now. You could run them in Expert Conquerors while it lasts, and they don't need to be babysat by this. They do it themselves, so they don't actually need a Stone Mage to put this buff on them, which is pretty cool. It does refer to a Stone Mage a bit below this image though, in the form of the Molten Talisman. So this again is a artifact that you can put on your Stone Mages. It adds 1/2 wound rolls for friendly Alorith units wholly within 12 inches. For the Stone Guard, that's going to be pretty good, obviously, if they get their damage buff that was leaked. For example, if they get the extra mortal wound output, or even this would actually also increase the chances of your Stone Mallets doing well. But this specifically is so good on your cows. Now do note again, there is a caveat once again, where the bear is not allowed to have charged. But it doesn't say anything about the other units that are affected by this ability. So you could just plonk your Stone Mage down. They usually don't want to charge anyway, and then do charge in with your cows and benefit from that +1 to the wound rolls. Now obviously, like the normal cow doesn't really need the extra wound rolls because he already wounds on the 2, but for your Stoneguard it is pretty good, and also for your Avalanor. So keeping your Stone Mage to close to charging units or units that are locked in combat, but themselves not charging, is going to be key here. Let's move on to the Huracan units. So the Wind Charger arrows here, they used to ignore cover, which was a useless rule that's now been moved to the Sentinels. So obviously these guys get something else, and I love what they've given them. So ward rolls cannot be made for wounds and mortal wounds caused by attacks made with missile weapons by this unit. This is so flavorful to me. They are going to be our picks to eliminate high value units, as it says in the article itself. So I can really see these guys doing a lot of work against heroes. And also do note here, it says ward rolls cannot be made for wounds and mortal wounds caused by attacks made with missile weapons by this unit. So that does mean that they are going to receive a way to deal mortal wounds. So with the Sentinels going down to 24 inches, if that remains the case, and them not being as effective against small heroes because of that, also them not ignoring, not shooting out of line of sight anymore, it is going to be harder for us to reach those small heroes that are hiding behind terrain or behind enemy ranks. Now with the Wind Chargers, you can still reach those points, and it is so flavorful for them to do so compared to our Sentinels. So I really love that. And that's the end of the article here. So it was just a really quick summary of what's in the WarCom article. They also note that it's going to be very effective against Nighthaunt, which is also true. And since Nighthaunt are pretty good right now, that would be cool. All in all, I'm loving the direction that this is pointing towards. I feel like they're really thinking about the temple units in this new tome, where they want to give them the flavor that they deserve. I do hope that they can pull off a balanced approach for the Vanari as well, where you want Vanari and your Temple Guard units to work in tandem, rather than just taking mostly Vanari and sprinkling in some Temple units every now and then, or going full Temple units. So I would preferably like to see a combination of all the fighting styles in the same army. That's going to be it for now. I want to thank everyone for taking a look at this video. Obviously, it was just a very quick video, nothing prepared here. I'm also super tired, so it's just going to be me rambling on, but I do hope that you've enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments what you've been looking forward to here. What's something that you really want to see in the next book, and what did you think about those rules? I'll see you in the comments or in our Discord server. See you in the next one. Bye bye.